It's no secret that the Kickstarter campaign by West Games for Areal, purported to be the spiritual successor to S.T.A.L.K.E.R, has been among the worst handled of any campaign in recent memory, including political ones. It has been rife with shadiness and hubris, while treating its backers like children who should be seen, not heard. Unless you're like me and you did 2 videos about it. From the very beginning, this Areal campaign has at the very least caused some people to have assertions that the foundation of Kickstarter is near its demise, mainly because of the frequency of alleged frauds getting away with ignorant people's money. Well, at least for today, I'm tipping my hat to Kickstarter because they have taken it upon themselves to suspend the Areal campaign effective immediately, just days before full funding would have been completed. To give you a little bit of a backstory, Areal was said to be the creation about to take flight of a bunch of ex-S.T.A.L.K.E.R developers who wanted to make a love letter to fans, which sounded peachy until their horrendous pitch video came out, in which some unidentified speaker claimed their new engine could scale from PC to Wii U, a dubious assertion. All the while in the video, and up until now, all they've shown is Unity engine clips and footage from S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 0 Areal assets shown. Furthermore, it turns out a great majority of these so-called ex-S.T.A.L.K.E.R developers have overstated their importance to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R franchise, so says Vostok Games, where a great number of that team actually went to, after S.T.A.L.K.E.R's developer GSC stopped developing games. As if that wasn't fail enough, it was discovered that all of the money from this Areal Kickstarter would be going to a Leonid Kovtun from Las Vegas, who has been sued several times in the past for fraud, and is associated with a Maximilian Kovtun, who backed a campaign last year called Space Pioneer, which didn't fund and had a Kickstarter campaign incredibly similar to Areal. So there's a lot of smoke here. Then there's the fact that $50,000 is the funding goal. Firstly, developing even a retro platformer can cost millions these days, let alone while striving to develop an omnipotent new engine and the distribution costs for all those systems. Plus, advertising alone normally can blow away $50,000 relatively quickly. Something was very off about this, until something interesting came to light from the same Russian website that's been handling a lot of Areal's PR. The information released by them includes, quote, Areal's producer explicitly told us that the success of reaching the $50,000 mark is meant entirely to show off in front of investors. Factually, that money is needed only to attract the real big cash, because the development of such a game would cost much more than $1 million, end quote. That actually makes sense, but was obviously not disclosed to backers at any point during the campaign. I'll just say this regarding the attempt to attract a big publisher with money alone. You use what could easily be construed as fraudulent business practices during your Kickstarter campaign, all to try and impress the fact that there's demand for this game out there, and you think a big entity will want to trust you and do business with you? How are they going to trust you'll make your deadlines, or even show up to work at all? But this is the juicy part, because a few weeks ago, West Games brought on board a mid-level member of the ex-S.T.A.L.K.E.R team, who in an interview talked about living in Ukraine near, quote, the war against Russian terrorists, end quote. However you feel about that situation is not the point of this video, but rather this remark about Russian terrorists is especially ironic due to the fact that just last week, it was purported by West Games that even though there's such strife in the Russian-Ukrainian area, and with the US and Russia on the precipice of possibly another Cold War, Areal apparently received a letter of support from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Seriously, whoever is coming up with this stuff needs to red-eye to Hollywood pronto. Even put aside the unlikelihood that Vlad would care at all about a video game or Kickstarter campaign, would the stoic and patriotic ex-KGB agent realistically align himself with a company that just weeks before called his troops terrorists? This hilarious turn of events coincided with a huge jump in funding, because Areal wasn't even close, with backers catching on to the devious dealings of West Games. Suddenly, total pledges sailed to near $60,000 mere days before the campaign would have failed. And this coincided with a newly created account spamming the comments section, sometimes dozens of times per minute, with a list of and links to the profile information of, quote, trolls who have gotten in the way of full funding. This would seem incidental, until West Games validated this spammer by doing the exact same thing and calling out trolls with profile information and all in one of their official updates. Trust me, I read through the comments, and these were not trolls, but rather individuals like how many reporters used to be, digging for facts and thirsting for drops of truth, but ultimately ending up dry. So, at long last, this three-ring circus came to an end with Kickstarter stepping in, and the scuttlebutt is that they did so because their FAQ reads that campaigns can be suspended if the Trust and Safety team discovers that there has been a, quote, misrepresentation of support through self-pledging. One would think they found some evidence. I could go on a 10-minute rant regarding the business ethics and petty bully tactics of West Games, but instead, I'd like to say that far too often, people are so willing to speak loudly about Kickstarter when things like the Yogscast controversy happen, or this twit with the potato salad, but are then silent when Kickstarter does the right thing. Are there still problems which go deep within Kickstarter? Yes, of course. But the suspension of the Areal campaign gives me hope that, while we should all be cautious in what we pledge to, there is an overseer in Kickstarter who will step in and take the reins if the wagon is clearly heading off a cliff. Again though, just like springing for a knockoff Coach bag on the smoky streets, then discovering nothing is holding it together but crazy glue, it's buyer beware on Kickstarter. This has been Sir James. I appreciate you watching this video. I cordially invite you to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Until next time, talk later.